Welcome to another FPL video. We are looking ahead to Game Week 10 and my team selection. I'll be discussing my transfer plans in case Mitrovic is injured and what I will do, and it could involve a possible -4 hit, and I'll also be talking about how other injuries to some of my wildcard players such as Joachim Andersen can also influence that decision. Be sure to drop this video a like and let's try to get this to over 300, and thank you very much to everyone who has subscribed. We have now reached 15,000 and we're looking to reach new goals such as 16,000, 20,000 and pushing beyond that. So thank you very much for all your support, and let's get straight into this video. Newcastle conceded very late on, so Nick Pope got me 2 points, and I actually benched Ward, who got a save point, a bonus point, and a clean sheet to get 8 overall. So I missed out on 6, but I don't really regret that decision because I thought that Leicester would concede a few goals, but ultimately win the game because they would score 3 or 4 themselves. But with Newcastle, I wasn't really expecting a clean sheet, but I was kind of hoping that if the clean sheet was wiped out, Mitrovic would be involved. But of course, he got a yellow card and was taken off quite early on, and it was quite typical for Newcastle to be 4-0 up. They took the foot off the gas and Fulham got a late consolation goal. But either way, I still think Nick Pope is the best goalkeeper. You will see across most of the team that I got barely any returns from most of my players, but Kieran Trippier got a very fortunate 7-pointer. He got a bonus point and the clean sheet. He came off just before Newcastle conceded, so that was a bit of a silver lining, you could say. Cancelo got a 1-pointer, and actually I was predicting a 1 or 2-pointer for him with Man United as their opponent. I thought United would score a goal or two, but I thought the game would be much closer than it really was. And Joao Cancelo is still a fantastic option, and he is by far the best premium defender, but it's going to be frustrating when he picks up these 1 or 2 pointers, of course. And Reece James got a 2-pointer against Crystal Palace, but Chelsea did overturn a 1-0 lead for Crystal Palace, and they still managed to find a way to win very late on. And Reece James, I think, is still a good asset, but I'm still unconvinced about how good he's going to be under Graham Potter compared to Thomas Tuchel. The midfield was very underwhelming. That is until Monday when James Maddison got me an 18-pointer, and he was the difference maker in Game Week 9. He was the difference between a red and a green arrow, and really it's differentials like him that can make all the difference. Heung-min Son got a 2-pointer, and I really liked his ownership and his performances for South Korea over the international break, on top of his hat-trick against Leicester. But as I said in the reaction stream then, just after he scored the hat-trick, he just played the worst defence in the league, especially at that time. And is he going to be playing against that sort of opposition every single week? Well, the next week he played against Arsenal and he did absolutely nothing, although he had a few moments where he was pretty good on the ball and he caused some problems, but his final pass was very lackluster. And Zaha was quite quiet, you could say, against Chelsea, but in the end, Chelsea is an opposition that Crystal Palace tend to struggle against, and now the fixtures are coming that I really want Zaha for. But of course, it is a bit frustrating when you see other 8 million midfielders like Foden getting a hat-trick and 19 points, and Jarrod Bowen getting a goal and maybe a questionable assist to get a really big return. And Martinelli, for me, is a fantastic option. He was amazing in that game against Spurs, and he completely had Emerson Royal for breakfast. He got a 4-pointer because of the yellow card, but the assist is still pretty welcomed with that assist to Xhaka to just kill off the game, and that third goal for Arsenal sealed the deal. But I have to say, Maddison was really the only midfielder that really impressed me in Game Week 9. The only striker who did anything for me was Erling Haaland, who got a 23-pointer against Man United, which is absolutely ridiculous, especially for a forward. I know Salah, I think, got 24 points last season against Man United at Old Trafford. Well, this time Haaland did as a forward, which is even more impressive. And he got 2 assists, one of them a great cross for Phil Foden, and both of them sharing the match ball and a hat-trick. A great performance by him. And unfortunately, he is the go-to captain every single week. And if I had Salah, I would have been very tempted to go for him as the captain. So if you did that, do not worry about it. And it's just one of those seasons really where unfortunately we have that standout captain and it's very difficult to deviate away from him, and you're always going to run the risk if you go for someone else's captain, even Salah, that you could actually pay for it big time. Mitrovic came off injured and he got a yellow card just before that, around the 20 or 30th minute mark against Newcastle, his former club. So a 0-pointer for him, and he has been pretty awful in the last few game weeks from an FPL perspective, but I still think he offers tremendous value. So we're all going to be very keen and monitoring the press conferences later on this week, because he could play a big part in terms of changing our structures potentially. And Ivan Toney also got a yellow card. So as you can see, really, just Erling Haaland, James Maddison and Kieran Trippier did something for me, and also Martinelli, to be fair. The rest blanked, and that's why my week was still pretty underwhelming overall, but Maddison was the saviour. The other saving grace was that Erling Haaland was my captain, so I didn't lose out on too much because of it. But his effective ownership is ridiculous. He's playing Man United, who actually were on the back of 4 victories in a row, including against Arsenal, and yet Man City just absolutely destroyed them in the first half, and then they took the foot off the gas, but still scored 2 goals in the second half. But I have to say, for me, the big difference maker was Maddison. Before the Leicester game, I was actually down to 1.5 million, and I basically got a 300,000 red arrow, but then it turned into a 300,000 green arrow because of James Maddison, and that's why finding these differentials like James Maddison is so crucial. So I got 85 points overall. I'm now on 511, and my rank is still relatively poor, but at least I'm in the top million. At least I can say that. And now I'm looking to push forward and find a few more differentials, and I might be very aggressive this week. So let's get into the Game Week 10 team selection and what I could do to improve my situation. Despite Ward scoring 4 times the amount of points as Nick Pope in Game Week 9, I will go for the Newcastle shot stopper. And I know there's going to be a clash between Ivan Toney and Nick Pope, but I'm going to start both of them. And I think the ceilings for both players are really high, and they could still haul at the same time, which is obviously going to be very unlikely, but it's still possible. And I'm just not going to play Ward, despite the fact there's a way to Bournemouth, because I think Bournemouth will get a goal in that game, and Bournemouth are a better team than we have given them credit for. And against non-top 6 opposition, they've gotten some very good results this season. I'm looking to play a back 3 once again, and it's going to be the 3 same suspects, the usual suspects. Kieran Trippier, Cancelo and James. They are the 3 that I'd also go for on a wild card no matter what. Then it's the other 2 slots that are a bit up for debate, to be fair. But Trippier home to Brentford, yes, there's a double up there, and maybe that isn't the greatest thing in the world, but I think Trippier's ceiling is really high, and maybe he can get another lucky return like he did in Game Week 9, and also a free kick. His free kicks are absolutely insane, and he's also a great set-piece taker overall. Cancelo home to Southampton, and that's actually a team that City have struggled against in recent seasons, but I think Cancelo will get a return here, probably a clean sheet, but maybe City won't score as many goals as we would expect. But to be honest, the way City are playing right now, it's very hard to envisage that. And Cancelo, to be honest, I think he's just an amazing option, despite maybe some people questioning him and his underlying numbers not being that great. And then Reece James at home to Wolves. We don't know what Wolves side we're going to get under maybe an interim manager, and let's see how Wolves do going forward. But I think Chelsea have a good chance of a clean sheet this week, and James could even get an attacking return. But more so, I'm expecting a 6-pointer here from at least one of these defenders, but Reece James has probably the best chance of a clean sheet this week. I'm expecting big things from my midfield. All of them have good fixtures, even Martinelli to a certain extent. I think Liverpool will cause problems to Arsenal and they could score a few goals and even win the game, but I think Martinelli can get some returns regardless. Up against Trent Alexander-Arnold, I think you could really target him and cause some big issues for Liverpool, and I think Martinelli is worth keeping for this week and for Leeds, and then you can bench him in Game Week 12. Zaha's facing Leeds, who to be fair have been better recently, but I would expect Crystal Palace to score a few goals regardless, and for Zaha to be a big part of that. And he's on penalties, of course, which is a big plus. And then we've got Maddison away to Bournemouth. I don't think the fixture's that great, to be honest, but I still think Maddison could get some returns, but I don't expect another 18-pointer, especially away from home. And then Heung-min Son away to Brighton. That's actually quite a difficult fixture for Spurs, and they could even lose the game. But to be honest, you look at the Spurs strikers or options in general, and Harry Kane is the best one by far, and Son has been absolutely awful, and some Spurs fans don't even want him starting. They're even asking for the likes of Bryan Gil and Lucas Moura to start over him. That's how bad he's playing. But with Heung-min Son, he always has the quality to deliver these goals when you least expect him to, like that hat-trick when he came off the bench against Leicester. But Brighton are a much better team, and I don't see them conceding that many goals despite the Serbi's very offensive approach. This is what it all comes down to. Mitrovic is yellow flagged right now, and he is facing West Ham away. If he is declared fit, then I would be happy to keep him and then maybe make the proposed transfers that I'm thinking about next week instead for free. But I have to say Mitrovic is still a really good option, but if he's out, and I've also got Joachim Andersen, who could also be a big issue, then I could be forced to play someone like Andreas Pereira away to West Ham or Kilman away to Chelsea, and that's where I could be forced into a -4 hit, which to be honest could benefit me in the long term. Haaland is Haaland. We all know who I'm going to captain. I mean, it's a bit boring to be honest, but it is what it is. And Haaland is just the best player in the league right now, at least in terms of the goal scoring. You would argue De Bruyne is a better player overall. And then Ivan Toney away to Newcastle. So I have a bit of a dilemma and a clash there between Trippier, Pope versus Toney. But I still think this team has a very high ceiling, and I could see it scoring more points than in Game Week 9. On paper at least, and then everyone starts to blank except for the usual suspects like Haaland. But what I'm hoping for is for my differentials to really kick on and get me those points that gains me that rank, and to be honest, 1 or 2 really good weeks can push you from 1 million or even a worse rank to a fantastic position to be in. So things can change very quickly. There is still not a huge gap between different ranks and points, but to be honest, it is starting to slowly increase. And as we get to the midway stage of the season, I think certain people will start to pull away. So it's very important now to get these decisions right and for our differentials and lower owned players to really make the difference. So this is how I would line up without making any transfers. But if Mitrovic is injured, I'll be looking to take a -4 hit and go to 2 premium strikers. I have enough money to go from Mitrovic to Wilson, and that is something I am considering, but the alternative is to take a -4 hit and get Trossard in for Heung-min Son, who has been struggling for most of the season, and get Harry Kane in for Mitrovic. And this will probably happen if Mitrovic is declared out, and we'll be keeping an eye on the press conferences later this week, and then I'll make a final decision. But the alternative is just to make one free transfer, especially if I need someone to come in for Mitrovic, and Anderson won't be able to come on against Leeds, and I'll bring in Callum Wilson for free in for Mitrovic. So let me know what you think. What would you prefer? Bringing in Callum Wilson for a free transfer, or taking a -4 hit, taking the plunge, and going for Trossard? I could also consider Foden, but I'd actually be 0.3 million short, and I don't want to take a -8 hit to make that possible. And he also blanks in Gameweek 12, so I think Trossard would be the one. I'm not expecting huge returns against Tottenham, but he has done it against them in recent seasons, and he's also just a fantastic player with some good fixtures coming up afterwards, and he's just offering insane value at his price. In terms of the bench, it would be the same in both situations. Ward would be my goalkeeper. I would have Anderson first sub, then Andreas, and Kilman last on my bench. So I'd be very happy either way, and let's wait and see if Mitrovic is fit. I have a gut feeling that it will be, but once again, it's very important to not make early transfers. We still have some Champions League games coming up, and this video is recorded before the Wednesday games, and you also have the Europa Conference League, the Europa League, and a few other games coming about. So it's very important to be patient and to wait as long as possible before finalizing these moves. But thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video or found it useful, be sure to smash the like button and subscribe if you're new. Let's get this video to over 300 likes and let's push on. Thank you very much for helping us reach 15,000 subscribers, but we can keep on going to 16,000, which is the next target, which we're quite close to already, and I think we can make some big progress over the next few months. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, DylanRCM, and also become a patron or a channel member. The links are in the description below, so be sure to check that out. You also have the Discord server and the FPL League, so all of that is there. I wish you all the best of luck for Game Week 10 and the rest of the season, and I'll see you next time.